By the late 1760s, Boston was no longer just a port city. It was a pressure cooker. Britain's victory in the French and Indian War came at a heavy cost. To recover financially, Parliament imposed new taxes on the colonies: the Stamp Act, the Townshend Acts, duties on everyday goods. The colonists had no vote in Parliament, and to them, these taxes felt like legalized theft. Anger spread through taverns, docks, and newspapers. Merchants organized boycotts, workers lost jobs, smuggling thrived, and voices like Samuel Adams understood something crucial. Outrage becomes unstoppable when it feels personal. To enforce control, Britain sent troops. In 1768, nearly 4,000 British soldiers were stationed in Boston, a city of just 16,000 civilians. Redcoats patrolled streets, guarded customs houses, and lived among the people. Boston felt occupied. Tensions became constant. British soldiers competed with locals for work. Fistfights broke out. Insults were traded daily. Children mocked soldiers openly. Patrols were followed, jeered, and sometimes attacked with snowballs and stones. Then came February 1770. A customs official fired into a crowd, killing Christopher Sider, an 11-year-old boy. His funeral drew thousands and turned grief into rage. Boston was now one spark away from disaster. March 5th, 1770. The night was bitterly cold. Outside the customs house on King Street, Private Hugh White stood guard. An argument erupted, with colonists accusing him of abuse earlier that day. Shouts drew a crowd. Snowballs flew, some packed with ice. Church bells rang, drawing even more people. White called for reinforcements. Captain Thomas Preston arrived with 8 soldiers, muskets loaded. They formed a defensive line as the crowd grew louder and more aggressive. Then someone shouted a single word: "Fire!" No one knows who said it. One soldier slipped. A musket discharged. Then came more shots. Within seconds, 5 colonists were dead or dying. Among them was Crispus Attucks, a dock worker of African and Native American descent, later remembered as the first martyr of American liberty. The crowd fled in panic and fury. The street fell silent except for groans and cries. British officers rushed to prevent wider violence. The soldiers were arrested. Captain Preston surrendered himself. The night was over, but its consequences were only beginning. If you're finding this story compelling so far, take a moment to like the video. It helps keep forgotten history alive. And consider subscribing so you don't miss the next chapter in stories that shaped the world. Almost immediately, the shooting was no longer described as an incident. It was called a massacre. Patriot leaders flooded the colonies with pamphlets and editorials, and one image changed everything: Paul Revere's engraving. It depicted British soldiers standing calmly, firing in perfect formation at innocent civilians under direct command. It was dramatic, emotional, and misleading. But truth mattered less than impact. The image burned itself into public memory, transforming confusion into outrage. Britain was no longer seen as a ruler, it was seen as an oppressor. To prevent mob justice, colonial leaders insisted on a fair trial. The defense attorney was John Adams. Despite public fury, Adams argued the soldiers acted in fear. Witnesses testified. Evidence was weighed. The verdict shocked the colonies. Most soldiers were acquitted. 2 were convicted of manslaughter and branded. Justice had prevailed, but reconciliation had not. Why it changed history. The Boston Massacre became an annual reminder of British oppression. Each retelling sharpened anger. Each commemoration deepened resentment. The lesson was clear. Revolutions don't begin with declarations. They begin with moments people refuse to forget. 5 years later, gunfire at Lexington and Concord would make war unavoidable. This story compelling so far, take a moment to like the video. It helps keep forgotten history alive. And consider subscribing so you don't miss the next chapter in stories that shaped the world.